Thank you for being here with us!
Hello again. I'm Shanta Thake, Lincoln Center's Chief Artistic Officer. All summer long, the Festival of New York has brought New Yorkers together by celebrating our communities in spectacular ways. Together, this citywide movement of over 350 organizations from different sectors has spurred us to rejoice, grow, and give back to New York City, the greatest city in the world. To learn more, visit festivalofny.com to learn about this amazing coalition and the countless events that took place to make this past summer so memorable. Last time, we were joined by a few of our amazing partners to discuss the second of the three main pillars of the festival, comeback. Today, we will discuss the last pillar, collaboration. Comprised of some of the world's largest organizations, as well as small community-based organizations, the Festival of New York provided opportunities to collaborate in ways that did not exist before the pandemic. Working with organizations from various sectors allowed many to flex their creativity and strategic goals through innovative partnerships. These unique collaborations led to engaging programs all summer long and made the Festival of New York the vehicle for New Yorkers to reconnect with one another and their city. Today, I'm joined by Michele Lariviere, Director of Donor Recruitment at the New York Blood Center, Rhys Athayde, founder and CEO of Phantom Fitness, and Jacqueline Handy, Senior Artistic Programming Manager at Lincoln Center for the Performing Arts. Each will discuss the amazing collaborations they were a part of and how it helped revitalize our city through the Festival of New York. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Shanta.
Thanks for having us.
It's so incredible. Here we are at the end of Festival of New York, and we've gone through basically 3 months of hundreds of activations around the city, some that would never have happened without Festival of New York and without meeting new partners over the course of the summer and this coalition that was brought together. And so today we're talking about collaboration. All three of you work in ways that not only are of service to New Yorkers as a whole, but also individually. And so I would love for you to talk about a little bit about what you do, how you do it, and how the Festival of New York played into that. So Jacqueline, I'm going to start with you.
Sure. I work in programming at Lincoln Center, and for me that means I get to work on really awesome events. I get to scout artists and curate programming across the city, but largely at Lincoln Center. It was wonderful to be able to be tapped with the Festival of New York because this is something that wasn't just on our campus, but really brought us out into the boroughs. So as a native New Yorker, it was wonderful to be able to go out in Harlem, which is where we had a career fair that had over 400 attendees and 50 different exhibitors in this space to make sure that folks who are looking for jobs are finding their right next step and not just a next step.
That's amazing. And for this career fair, this was kind of unprecedented. Prior to this, this was with 3 different companies, right, coming together to do an Uber career fair. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
That and more. So it started with the idea of bringing LinkedIn, Indeed, and Idealist together to create this career fair. And at the heart, these folks all have the same mission. They're mission-driven in that they're looking to break barriers to employment. And so having that being our rallying cry coming together was easy to get folks together in a space. We then started networking. It was wonderful with the Festival of New York that we had these calls that were monthly to connect with different folks who were trying to produce and trying to create with the festival as well. And from there, we found the Greater Harlem Chamber of Commerce, who was creating a career fair on their own, and they welcomed us with open arms, our ideas and our direction, and we created the career fair all together. So it really was a labor of love across several different institutions.
I love that. It's kind of this idea of collaboration feels like it really works when you kind of can align at that core. What are we all trying to do? And I think the idea of bringing jobs and opportunities to New Yorkers is something I think all of us is kind of at the heart of what we do. But for these organizations to come together in this way is massive. Yeah. It's so amazing. And this just happened on August 17th.
Yeah, at City College, which was fabulous. It's such an iconic space. You walk onto the campus and you're reminded of this movie and that TV show. But even more than that, it was making sure that we were reaching people where they are, which is what this festival did so well. So making sure that folks who were traditionally underserved felt that this was an event for them was huge for us. We had exhibitors in this space who had their own tables, but we also had translation services and headshot stations and workshops on building your personal brand. So it was really focused on making sure New Yorkers had tangible resources that they could walk away with.
That's incredible. Rhys, can you tell us a little bit about how you brought your company into Festival of New York?
Yeah, so Phantom Fitness is an app for at-home workouts anytime, anywhere. And for the past almost 10 years now, I've been a celebrity trainer, and I've wanted to bring those celebrities' workouts to everyone, right, from the comfort of their homes. And I thought, what would be even cooler is to start doing events around the city as part of Festival of New York. And I offered free group fitness classes for the public at iconic New York City locations to not only get New Yorkers back into an active lifestyle, but re-engage them with the iconic locations that make New York the city that it is.
That's incredible. I mean, just even to get back in your own body after this pandemic and to be able to do that with other people is kind of a beautiful thing. Would you have been able to be in these locations without Festival of New York? Was this already planned? How did this come together?
No, honestly, Festival of New York actually, it made me rethink the way that I want to bring fitness to everyone in their homes, especially after the pandemic. We didn't think that we would ever be back, sitting like this, in Times Square. When you think of Times Square, you think center of the universe, packed with people, energy flying all over the place. And I don't know if you guys went there in 2020, but it was a ghost town, it was scary. And we were all scared. So I thought, why not bring this back and bring it back hard? And Festival of New York gave me the opportunity to do that.
That's incredible. I wish I had done it. I feel like I'm not sure that I'm ready for everybody to watch me work out.
But soon.
But soon I will be, and I'm going to give you a
that.
That's amazing. Michele, tell us a little bit about the goals for the blood bank in this time. Obviously, such a crucial part of how New Yorkers live in the city, but what did Festival of New York bring to this? What was your take on the summer?
So the pandemic really kind of destroyed the foundation in which we get blood donations. It's a true collaboration with individuals, with businesses, with schools, and we lost more than 25% of our blood because we weren't in our high schools and colleges. And so reinvigorating New York City was really important to us because the hardest hit area in our service area really was New York City and the 5 boroughs, Manhattan especially, and we're still not back all the way. And so the Festival of New York gave us an opportunity to get out more to our smaller businesses as well as our large ones and just bring blood donation to the forefront of people's minds. You forget that people need blood every day. You don't think about it in the middle of a pandemic when you're not going out and you're worried, but we still needed blood donation every day for our hospital patients during the pandemic. And so coming back and seeing businesses open up and places open up for us has been really amazing. Lincoln Center ran a blood drive for us during the summer, which was amazing. We worked with our hospital partners. And in fact, New York Presbyterian really stepped up for us and not only ran their own blood drives, which brought in about 400 plus pints, but supported our donor centers throughout New York City and brought in additional, so bringing their total up to 500 in one day. Wow. It's just kind of amazing. So we have really great partnerships, and we're looking forward to even more and more as we move forward.
Yeah, I'd never really thought about that sort of structure of how these different venues you have to work with in partnerships. And when people are worried about keeping their own businesses afloat and figuring out how to literally open the doors, what does that mean for things like the New York City Blood Bank and what that sort of ripple effect of all of these things pandemic have brought us, which I think we've all realized in our own lives. But seeing that impact. And you guys set a goal for yourselves also with meet the need.
We did, and we made it, which I was really excited about. I did my totals this morning.
I meant to ask before I asked out loud on this. But I'm glad that's true.
We had a goal of doing 25,000 donations within the 5 boroughs, and we actually were about 3,000 over that. So we did have a blood emergency in the middle of the summer, so we did dip quite low, and we were a little worried we weren't going to hit, but we did. Which is very exciting because certainly last summer we were not at those numbers.
That's incredible. I donated at Lincoln Center. My first time donating in New York. I am a little ashamed to say, but I did it. And now I did it, and I got my card. Yeah. And I love being part of a club, so I'm very excited to show my card next time.
Well, now you have to get to the Gallon Club, which is doing 8 donations.
Oh, wow.
You can get to the Gallon Club, so it should be your next goal.
You're committed to a lot this year.
Yeah, I feel like there's going to be, by the time.
So, yeah, I mean, we hope that more people will realize, donating once in your lifetime is great, but we really need people to donate at least 2 times a year. And then we wouldn't have shortages.
Yeah, that's kind of one of the great things about living in an urban environment is actually our whole lives are about collaboration in so many ways. There is this kind of interdependence that is just a necessary part of how to be a New Yorker. I wonder if you can talk a little bit about just the placement. I mean, you talked about being a native New Yorker. Rhys, are you a native New Yorker as well?
Raised, yeah.
So just what it means to actually be in New York City with your various activities and how that shifts how you think about your work in general.
Yeah, for sure. I'd say, we're coming out of a time where there's really intense wariness about other people. So this festival brought folks together in a space centering joy, centering culture, centering resources in a way that really brought out my New York City pride. Outsiders like to call it cockiness, but we know that it's pride, and we know it comes from the moments of stumbling upon a dance party and dancing with a stranger, or doing a workout in the park with your friends, or going to a night market and trying a new cuisine. Like, those pop-up moments feel so very New York, and I love that we were able to let them shine so brightly.
Yeah, Rhys, what does New York bring to Phantom Fitness?
I mean, honestly, nowhere in the world moves like New York. I've had the privilege to travel all over, and I've seen some beautiful places, but no one hustles like New Yorkers hustle, And I'm proud to say for our activations, in July we had the heat wave. The air was thick, it was humid, and we exceeded capacity for our activations. Everyone wanted to be in the middle of New York City, working out, being surrounded by other New Yorkers. Yes. And I think that's so special, and you don't find that anywhere else.
Yeah, we had so many events at Lincoln Center this summer, and one of the spaces that we created was this speakeasy, and it held like 40 people. And people would line up, hundreds of people would line up, and you would say to the sort of 50th person, "You're not getting in," and they would just stay, and they would stay all night waiting in this line. Yeah. And I was like, you know what, New Yorkers just like to be around other New Yorkers.
No,
So there's something about being in a line, about being around other people that sort of reminds you of why being in a city like New York is so incredible, and seeing people that are not like you but share your same interests, and it's just so magical. So I think that's totally like any excuse to really be out around people. For some folks, it's just like you need that organizing concept.
Yeah, and I mean, think of how cool it is. Like, we have a whole festival dedicated to bringing New York back. Like, that's awesome. That's a New Yorker's dream come true.
It's amazing, and I think that's why we also, from the beginning, it sort of felt like this is a movement. This is something that everybody, again, to your point earlier, like finding that core value that we all shared, and that value was loving New York City and really wanting New York to come out of this pandemic in a massive way. And I think we saw how that played out in a really beautiful way. And Michele, you want to talk a little bit about New York and how it plays into your work?
Absolutely. I'm a transplant, but I feel like I've lived in New York more than anywhere else, and the energy here is amazing. So New York Blood Center is actually across 11 different states, so we have a far reach, but I'm a little biased to New York, I won't lie. So I have been working within the city limits in my job for the last 21 years, and just recently expanded outside of New York. But it's amazing. The energy and the resilience of New Yorkers is like no other. And like you, I've traveled in a lot of places and lived in a lot of different states, and just the resilience of New Yorkers and the way, I'm going to say the way we bounce back, to me, the way people respond when you put out the call. I've not seen it anywhere else. And it's really exciting. It's a feel. Like you don't have to live in New York to be a New Yorker, because it's just that gut feel.
Do you guys agree as New Yorkers?
I love that.
Do we get to claim it? I'm going to claim it too.
I can echo that though. So, one thing that I think is coming out of the pandemic is how this felt like a kickoff. There were several collaborations that were made between different organizations that felt like the first and not the only. So I'm excited to see what happens in the future with, next year's career fair. We were already talking about this as a planning team of how do we make things better, for the future.
Yeah, I love that. The idea of collaboration, I think during, this is something that kind of started because of the pandemic. Obviously, so many people were meeting within sectors that were previously collaborators, like our friends at LinkedIn and Idealist, and us at Lincoln Center meeting with other arts organizations and saying like, okay, what tools do you have that we might need? People that you perhaps wouldn't have been your first call before, where all of a sudden you're collaborating in this new way. And I think when this movement started around Festival of New York, it was really not wanting to lose that, because it's so easy to go back into, okay, now I just have to refocus on my organization. But really, what a gift to be able to expand and sort of open the aperture a little bit and learn from our colleagues and across sector. I think the idea to actually be in a space like we are now, talking to the blood bank and the fitness group and the Idealist in the same conversation has just been so eye-opening and really, I think, connected all of us a little bit more deeply to what is New York. I wonder, to Jackie's point, what is the next step? What do you think is the next obvious iteration for you of how this will continue and how you'll build on these relationships going forward?
For me, Festival of New York isn't limited to the summer. It's the city that never sleeps. It's the festival that never sleeps, right? So I'm already working on activations for the fall, the spring, next summer, and just continuing to grow it. And I think, who knows, maybe all of us at this table are going to come together and do something too this year. So
I love that.
I love that. Michele? You're like, I've already expanded to 11 states.
No, I think for us, just getting back into our businesses and getting back, we did a program this summer called Pint for a Pint. We partnered with local breweries and seeing that grow for next year. And, Pint for a Pint could be anything. It could be soup, it can be ice cream, it can be soda, it can be, like, how do we bring people together just to do things that are nice for each other? Donating blood is it's a life-saving act, but how do we also recognize people who come in and give of their time and their selves, obviously. And it's exciting. And getting back into our schools is obviously something we're looking forward to, and how do we partner with those groups and maybe partner with others to kind of bring everyone together. We have a lot on our plate, and we're really, really excited. How to motivate people and how to have more partnerships is always on my mind. Festival of New York certainly helped, and I'm looking forward to next year's Festival of New York.
Same.
I like it. Well, apparently it just keeps going, so I think we're in it. There we go. We're in next year's Festival of New York. I would love it, just if you guys have any highlights or any stories to tell of this summer and what things that stand out to you as kind of being those moments that really coalesced, what it meant to be doing this work in this time. Rhys, I'm going to start with you.
Yeah. Festival of New York really gave me the opportunity to work with organizations that I didn't think I normally would. I think a lot of times we tend to stay in our own lanes. Fitness will stay in fitness or arts will stay in arts. But for one example, I worked with an organization called Art in the Park, and their whole thing is about revitalizing their community and preventing gun violence and exposing their youth to the arts programs. And I worked with them, a fitness company, and I was able to provide over 200 kids with free basketballs and goodie bags, and bring in a celebrity trainer, basketball trainer, AJ Ramsa, to come in and teach them how to dribble a ball, and giving a child that memory. Maybe that basketball will be ingrained in them, and they're gonna, who knows, go to the NBA one day. Who knows what's gonna happen? But being able to provide that opportunity for kids like that, I wouldn't normally have had that if it weren't for Festival of New York.
Yeah, it's kind of amazing. You went from sort of a one-man show of a celebrity trainer, now you've got Phantom Fitness, now you're in the parks, now you're everywhere.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll say something that sticks out for me is, right when we opened the doors for the career fair, there was one gentleman who was waiting and looked pretty nervous. And as he walked through the exhibit hall, I came up to check in on him, how's it going? and he just had this smile on his face. And he said, I had a conversation with one of the exhibitors, and I said, there's not a lot on my resume, and I can't do this, I can't do that. But she instilled in him confidence and saying, look at all of these things. You are qualified in all these different ways. Everybody around here is looking for X, Y, Z, and you have that. So seeing that confidence being built, that self-esteem of like, literally watching him come alive felt like, not literally, excuse me, watching him get energized by conversations throughout the space was like, okay, we did this. Like, this was a success.
Yeah, it's also kind of those taking down the barriers between what you think a career fair is and being able to meet folks where they are in their neighborhoods and understand that actually, that it's a mutual benefit.
Yeah.
These organizations really need labor and great employees to come in and work with them, and so it doesn't have to feel like this, like I can't do that. Jacqueline, you were saying that you look forward to building on what happened this year. Can you tell us a little bit more about what you learned and what you're going to take forward?
Yeah, almost as soon as the hall cleared, we started talking about, okay, so next time we needed an exhale in between. But in thinking about what next year looks like, how do we arrange it around other events that are happening? We had maybe a couple of weeks in order to get the marketing up and everything set. What happens if we have more time? So if we have 3-4 months to plan this, how do we make it even bigger, even brighter, and make sure that like folks are really getting what they need out of the career fair? So I'll say City College has been wonderful in trying to figure out time of year, and is it around their alumni weekend? Is it around this event, that event? How do we time the day? Because we learned a lot about, there's a lunch period where we were rushed with folks.
Yeah.
So how do we maximize people's time, the folks who are in the space and the folks who are attending? These are questions that are really stirring around for the committee. But it was fabulous to have so many different types of vendors in this space. The MTA was there, several different financial institutions, and to that spirit of collaboration, it was not in conflict. It was all for New York.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, I should say that when we started, the first few partners started talking about what ended up being Festival of New York, that was not so long ago. Really was in September maybe that it started getting off the ground. So the idea that all of these events and all these collaborations happened in kind of a really short amount of time. Of course, we're used to all these pivots now. But Rhys, is there anything that you learned from this year that you would take forward?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like you said, now I have a whole year to plan even more stuff. So what I'm going to do, and like I mentioned earlier, is I'm working on activations for the fall, the spring, next summer. And I think what's been really cool is Festival of New York's enabled me to pivot the way that I'm running my business as well. I've had a digital community, but Festival of New York gave me the opportunity to physicalize that digital community.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That's amazing. That's incredible. And Michele, are you going to set a 50,000 pint goal for next summer? What are we doing?
Maybe not 50,000, but certainly much larger than we did this year. And I think too, the number of possibilities and the things that you can do within Festival of New York seems somewhat daunting, and maybe focusing on certain partnerships and things that we can do in smaller steps would be something I would do next year. And then maybe we won't have a blood emergency in the middle of the summer. You could add a blood drive to your career fair. Just a suggestion, and to your fitness thing, so we can collaborate more next time.
It's like put an egg on it. This is like put a blood drive attached.
The cherry on top. But yeah, I think that certainly 35,000 since we were at 28 doesn't seem like a horrible number, and I think we can do it with everybody's partnership and help and focus. And no blood emergency next summer. That's my goal.
That's a good goal for all of us.
Yes,
Let's all try to do that.
exactly.
That's amazing. Michele, can you tell us how people can find out more about your organization? And we'll go around the table. How do we get more involved with your organization year round?
Yeah, the best place is to go onto our website, which is nybc.org. There's a zip code locator. You can put where you are, and we can bring you to your, not bring you, but tell you where your closest blood drive is. There's also information on how to donate, what the criteria are and other ways to work with New York Blood Center. So if you can't donate, you can volunteer, you can, like any other nonprofit, you can donate money, but lots of ways to get involved, and we hope more people will.
That's wonderful. Rhys?
Yeah, You can subscribe to the app, which is Phantom Fitness on Apple and Android. We have tons of new workouts for people, and we announce a lot of things that we're going to be doing on the app. Our website, joinphantom.com, and then stay up to date on our social media, which is @PhantomFit.
Wonderful. And Jackie?
Yeah, we just announced our fall season, so we have even more free and low-cost programming for folks at Lincoln Center, so check out lincolncenter.org.
Well, I'm so inspired by all of the work that you guys have done and the way that you're inspiring New Yorkers not only to give to themselves and help bring their fitness up and help find employment, but also give back to each other through all of these things. And it's so incredibly inspiring to see the way that you've come together and collaborated with one another, well, hopefully with one another for next year's Festival of New York that started apparently today. And we'll see what grows out of all of these beautiful new relationships and all of these collaborations. But thank you for being here. Thank you for all of your great work. And I'm so happy to have joined for another discussion on how the Festival of New York has positively impacted our city and brought us back together as one. Over these past few months, our coalition has demonstrated our commitment to coming back, community, and collaboration through diverse programming, innovative partnerships, and our love for New York City. While the sun has set on this amazing summer, we will continue, as we said, to rejoice, grow, and give back. It is only the beginning. We thank our guests today for sharing their experiences with us and for all of our coalition members who are part of a historic movement dedicated to celebrating New York City. To learn more about this amazing coalition, stay in touch at festivalofny.com and at festivalofny on social media. Thank you again for joining us.